Hello, my name is Robin Smelinich, and welcome to your online orientation for your volunteer trip with the Child's Hope Foundation. In this orientation, you will first view a PowerPoint presentation, which will give you some information about the specific orphanage that you're going to. Also, in just a moment, Lexi Skousen will introduce herself as your volunteer trip coordinator, and Erin Knutson will also talk about registration, signing your waiver forms, and payments, and also a few tips on social media. In the end, Samantha Smith and I will talk about this information sheet, and this gives you some specific information with regards to your trip. Hopefully a lot of your questions will be answered in our presentation, but if not, feel free to contact either Lexi Skousen or your trip host with questions that you might have. We hope you enjoy your online presentation, and thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Lexi Skousen. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Child's Hope Foundation, and my job is to make sure all the volunteers are ready for their trip. You should have received 2 emails from me at this point covering your trip payments and the due date for that, and the orientation, that you're participating in right now. Along with those emails, I've included a couple of documents with your itinerary, so your plans for the week of your trip, the information sheet that has the specifics about the location you'll be visiting, the packing list that'll help you prepare for your trip, and then a link to the Google Pins that has all the locations that you'll be going to while you're down in Mexico. Along with this orientation, if you would like to speak with your trip host and figure out the details for your specific trip, let me know and I can set up a conference call for you to meet with them. If you have any other questions, let me know through email or over the phone. I'm happy to help answer any other questions you might have, and we hope you enjoy your trip.
Hi, my name is Erin Knutson, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Finance here at a Child's Hope Foundation. In a second, we're going to switch over to a video where I'll walk through the process for payments and refunds, talk about our waivers, and also the social media that you guys can use while you're on your trip. So we'll talk about that in just a minute.
Hey everyone, I'm going to teach you how to make a trip payment on our website, and then along the way I'll talk about our payment and refund policies. So first go to our website, achildshopfoundation.org. On our menu bar, we have Give, and then you go to Make a Trip Payment. On this page, you'll enter the amount you owe and a description about which trip you'll be attending. Full trip payments are due 3 months before the first day of the trip. If you're registering before the full payment due date, a $100 non-refundable deposit is due at the time of registration. If you're registering after the full payment due date, the full trip payment is due upon registration. There's also a $75 late fee assessed for those who register within 2 weeks of the first day of the trip. So if it was about 6 months out and you were just paying your trip deposit, you'd come over here and you'd put in the details. So for this example, I put in trip deposit for Guaymas, December 2018, Christmas. Then you have 2 payment options. You can pay with PayPal or with a debit or credit card. So with PayPal, you would fill in your personal information and then you'd select Next. It'll take you to the PayPal page for you to confirm your payment with your PayPal email address. If you want to pay with a debit or credit card, you'd come over here and select credit card. You'd fill in your same personal information and select Next. A box will pop up for you to put in your billing information. When you go to the next part of that box, then you'd be able to fill in your credit card number and then submit your payment. With either option, you'll receive an email with a confirmation. We understand that sometimes life happens and you may need to cancel your registration. Unfortunately, the $100 trip deposit is non-refundable, but the rest of the trip payment can be refunded or applied to a future trip. We do offer a one-time trip deposit transfer for volunteers who choose their new trip within 14 days of notifying our team of their cancellation. In this case, the full trip payment, including the $100 deposit, can be transferred to the new trip selected. So pretty much what this means is that if you want to transfer to a different trip, if you know you have to cancel, then you can let us know which trip you want to go on and we can transfer that trip deposit. It can only be transferred one time, so you wouldn't be able to then transfer that same deposit to another trip after that. Once a trip is only 2 weeks out, all trip payments become non-refundable and non-transferable for that trip. If you ever have any questions about your trip payments, please call or email me and we can discuss in more detail. My information is in the email that Lexi sent out with this orientation. Next, we're going to talk about the trip guidebook and the permission waiver. If you haven't filled these out yet, I'll show you how to access these documents and point out an important note about posting pictures on social media while on your trip. From the homepage, click Volunteer. Scroll down to our trip list. Find the trip you registered for. I'll show you this first one as an example. Each trip page gives a list of the steps for registration. The first step is to fill out the trip registration form. If you're watching orientation, you've already done this. But please note that this form must be filled out for each member of your group or family. The second step is to read the volunteer trip guidebook. The trip guidebook gives more information about your trip and specifics about the location you'll be visiting. Once you've read it as a group, please review and sign the permission, medical release, and guidebook review form. This link will take you to a smart waiver. Please review this waiver in detail. There's one thing I want to point out at the end. Right here it says, I understand that if I post pictures on social media, I may not include children's names, my location, or mention the name of the orphanage. This is a precautionary measure we take to ensure the safety of the children we serve. We absolutely 100% want you to post on social media about your trip. We just ask that you please follow the guidelines in this review form. While serving at our Baja orphanages, you can tag Baja as your location. Just please do not tag the individual cities where the orphanages are located. We hope you will also include the hashtags A Child's Hope Foundation and ACHF Volunteer. These hashtags help spread the word about our important cause and let others know about the awesome opportunity to come down to Mexico with us to play with the kids. The last step for registration is to submit payment. We've already talked about this, but I wanted to point out that this is one other place that you can link to that same trip payments page. If you have any other questions about your permission forms or about the trip guidebook, please contact Lexi. Thanks again for watching.
So to start off this PowerPoint presentation, before we get to La Hacienda Orphanage, I just want to talk to you for a minute about how a Child's Hope Foundation got started. It started around 2000, and before that, as you see pictured here, Paul and Caroline Cook had adopted this darling little baby Megan from China. And one of Paul's acquaintances knew that he was passionate about adoptions, and he had been down to Haiti and had seen the plight of the orphans there, and asked Paul if he could come down and see if there's something he could do to help out the situation. So Paul went down to Haiti, and when he came back from the trip, this is what he said. It was not only then, when I saw the desperate plight of the orphans in Haiti, that I knew that I needed to do more than just donate money. I needed to personally get to work on this problem and help save the lives of these kids. We named our charity A Child's Hope Foundation because we believe it is every orphan's hope to belong to a loving family. So they got busy and started creating a beautiful orphanage down in Haiti, and this is what it looks like today. This orphanage is still running with the same people that were there 17, 18 years ago when it was started. And the amazing thing about this is over 1,200 children have been adopted to various families throughout the world from this orphanage. In about the mid-2000s, it was dangerous to send volunteer groups down to Haiti, and several trips got canceled. But they didn't want the dream of a child's hope to be shattered, and so they started looking for other orphanages to help, and that's when we started going to Mexico. The orphanage that you're going to be going to is in Tijuana, and this is a recent orphanage that Child's Hope Foundation started supporting in 2017. Here is a picture of the orphanage from the front and a group of volunteers that went down. This next picture is a picture of the backside of the orphanage and where you will be parking. This orphanage is surrounded by a gate, which is closed, so your car and so forth should be secure within the orphanage grounds. This here shows you the gate that's closed and also is an entrance to and from the orphanage. So the first thing I want to talk about is the dorms, your sleeping arrangements, and where you will be having most of your meals. So for breakfast and lunch, you will be eating mainly at the orphanage with the children. And this picture right here shows you a picture of the dining hall. It's quite large. You can see you can get your food and eat wherever you'd like to. Visit with the kids. It really doesn't matter if you don't speak Spanish. A hug, a smile goes a long way with these children. Here's another picture just showing you standing in line. In some of the orphanages we go to, we help cook. And here they do have cooks, but if you'd like to go to the kitchen and help them cook the meals and clean, that is appreciated as well. Here again, it just shows the children eating their meal, which is where you will be having your meals. And another picture of the kitchen. The next slide shows dormitories. This one actually is not a picture in Hacienda. It's at another dormitory or another orphanage that we support. But basically, it's the same same situation that you're going to be sleeping in. It's just a big room with a lot of bunk beds with mattresses. So it's your responsibility as a volunteer to either bring a sleeping bag to throw on that mattress with a pillow, or to bring sheets and a blanket that you can put over the mattress. So if any of you have been to a youth hostel, this is kind of the sleeping arrangements here. So the way it works, we'll talk a bit about construction projects. In the morning, when it's cooler, is when we like to do our construction work. And these can vary from all sorts of things. This one, at this particular orphanage, we're doing some new buildings. And so there's lots of cement work, a lot of cinder blocks being put together with cement and so forth. But the construction projects will vary from trip to trip. There's no big cement truck that comes and brings the cement and dumps it in like here in America. We have to make our own cement. So it's a lot of hard work. So don't forget to bring some heavy work gloves. Here again, it just shows you kids and adults working side by side, making cement and building a cement wall. Some more pictures of projects that have been going on. And if you have a lot of children that will be going with you, don't worry about is there going to be plenty for them to do, because there will be. There's always cleanup work to be done, picking up garbage or sweeping, or things to be delivered to and from different people that are doing work. So you will not be bored during this time. Here's a last picture of people doing some brickwork. Like I said, we were building buildings and walls and so forth, building dormitories. So things might change in the near future. You might be doing things like laying tile. Painting is always something. They love their paint in Mexico, so there always seems to be paint. And this is what you're going to look like when you get done with your construction. It's a lot of work. It's very rewarding, but it's also very tiring. So in the afternoon, after lunch, this is when we do some various things, either playing with the children or going on activities. A Child's Hope goal is to make the children feel loved, to make them feel part of a family. So that is our main goal. The construction is nice, it gives us a project, it makes us feel good in improving their living conditions and so forth, but honestly, just playing with the children is what it's all about and getting to know them. So in this section, you'll just see the afternoon and maybe in the morning if you go on a summer trip and the kids are out of school, then you can see you just play with the children. Give them hugs, talk to them. Here we have a picture of them doing arts and crafts. So anything that your kids like to do or anything that you've liked to do as a child, these kids like to do. So arts and crafts or puzzles or coloring, card games. You can bring things like Uno or Old Maid. Go fish. You don't need to speak the same language to play those types of games. Anything you want to do with the kids in the afternoon is great. Even electronics, if you have movies, things like that. Obviously, you'd want them in Spanish, but it's just a time to play with the children. This, it looks like someone brought some scooters or some things for them to ride down a steep hill on. Those things are fine as well. There are some outings that you'll be doing. It's not all work. There is a beach close by, and you may go to the beach and do some swimming. A lot of times we take the kids with us on an outing, which they love. You also will probably go shopping. Tijuana is a large city, and there's lots of fun places to go shopping for souvenirs and so forth. So this just shows you some pictures of shopping. You'll also eat out. We go to a great place to eat, and you can see here we're eating out at a restaurant. And look at this beautiful food. Tijuana actually has amazing food. I don't know how many of you know this, but the Caesar salad was actually invented in Tijuana. So they have great restaurants to go to. So be excited about that. Here just, a lot of them have live music, and so this just shows you a picture of that. And then also taco stands. This is some place you might go at night, or you may go for lunch and just have some carne asada and so forth. The other thing that we do here in Tijuana at this orphanage that we really don't do at our other orphanages, because our other orphanages are a lot smaller and they're in very small towns. Since Tijuana is such a large town, there is a lot that we can do to help out the people there. So we do a lot of service projects for people in the neighborhood and even the surrounding neighborhoods. So what the volunteers are doing here is they put together baskets, and we've just gone to Walmart and bought a lot of things, you know, that a typical family would need, and we're distributing them to various neighbors. And this just gives you an idea of what their houses look like. It's an extremely poor part of Mexico and of Tijuana, so any little thing is appreciated. If you haven't had enough shopping, or you need to get your last churro, crossing back over the border in Tijuana is always exciting. It's never a dull moment. There's lots to look at, lots to buy, and we will just be crossing back over the border on Saturday morning before it gets too busy. So I hope this just gives you an idea of what the orphanage looks like, kind of what the surroundings will be, what your accommodations will be. And next we'll go ahead and talk about the information sheet. Thank you.
Really, I didn't know Caesar salad was Mexican.
Hi, I'm Samantha Smith, and I'm Director of Training, and I'm here with Robin to talk a little bit about the information sheet to help you be more prepared for your trip to Mexico.
So hopefully you had a chance to pull this up on your email or print it off so that you can take notes or jot down ideas as we go through this, through the information. The first thing that's listed here talks about passports, and it's a Mexican law that they have a copy of your passport for volunteers that go down there. So the easiest way to do this is to just take a picture with your cell phone of your the page on your passport that has your picture, and then email that to Lexi at achildshope.org, and her email address is listed here. And that's for all volunteers 18 and older. The next thing we talk about is clothing. The best thing to do when you're packing for your volunteer trip is to pack light. When you're doing construction, you can wear the same clothes every morning. They're going to get dirty. They're going to get cement on them or paint. So just plan on one outfit in the morning, and then you can change accordingly to whatever the activity is going to be in the afternoon. Look at weather.com and just type in Tijuana, Mexico a couple days before you go, and then that will alert you to the fact, is it going to be really hot? Is it going to be a little chilly? Is it going to rain? And that will help you pack. Because sometimes, you know, if you're layering, you have short sleeves for the day, and then you need a hoodie or a jacket at night, even a beanie if you're going on one of our holiday trips. It might get cold when you sleep. So layering is very important also when you're packing. The quarters, as I mentioned in the PowerPoint presentation, you're going to La Hacienda Orphanage, and it's about a 2-acre plot of land with several buildings on it, and Samantha's going to talk about some of the policies at that orphanage.
A couple things to keep in mind is that though where you're going to Mexico is just an hour south of the border, there are a couple of things that are quite different. One is their septic systems. They can't tolerate having toilet paper flushed down, and so it not only will it clog up that toilet, but it'll clog up their whole system. So if that is a hard habit for you to break, which it often is, then what you can do is there's a stick next to the trash can next to the toilet that you can go fishing with. Really important that you grab from the top, fish with the bottom, and place it back that way. Otherwise, someone else is going to grab the side that you were fishing with, which is not cool. Another important thing to keep in mind is they have a pretty extensive campus where you can go outside and play on a playground. They have a living room and a kitchen where you can talk with the kids and do different activities. But if they have something that they want to show you, or you have something that you want to show them that are in dorm rooms, it's really important that you don't take kids to our dorm area, or that you don't go into their dorm room, even if they're trying to bring you in. Tell them to go get their, whatever the thing is that they want to show you, out into an open area. And same thing for you. If you want to show them something, make sure that you go back with a volunteer and that you're not bringing any of the kids back with you. Also, if you are not used to being around little kids, or if you are used to being around little kids, you know that they squirm a lot. And so while you're playing with them, please be extra careful that they don't squirm out of your arms. Especially, there's a lot of play areas where there's concrete and we don't want any of them to get hurt. So please be especially careful. As Robin was talking about laundry and packing light, also be aware that there aren't any laundry services at the orphanage for our use. So please be respectful of not cleaning clothes in the shower or in the sinks, but waiting until you get home. If you have concern with needing laundry services, then you can talk with your trip host about that need. And last really important policy is that you bring water bottles, that there's clean water in the kitchen, that your trip host will tell you about 5-gallon jugs that you can refill your water bottles with, or if you want to bring a case of water. But drinking out of faucets is highly discouraged, as well as even using it to brush your teeth. So use purified water to brush your teeth down there to ensure that you won't get sick.
One thing about that I just want to mention, if you do have a queasy stomach, you might want to bring like Pepto-Bismol tablets or something and take those, and that will help. Yeah,
absolutely. So another thing to remember about Mexico is that flexibility is key. You have a trip host and they're kind of the mom or the dad of the trip. They'll be able to guide you around, tell you where you're going next, be the translator, but recognize that we really need to be flexible. And so though you received in that email from Lexi an itinerary, recognize that activities might get switched to a different day if it's raining. Construction might move a little earlier, a little later based on temperature, or any number of things that might change based on how they do things with that culture. Another thing that you will have in that email is not only the name of your trip host, but their email and their phone number, so you'll be able to contact them. And Lexi will be setting up a Skype visit, so if you have any questions about any of this orientation, or you just want to meet your trip host, she'll send out the time and the link for that visit. You'll also have a trip supervisor, and their role is to help you feel confident and do quality work in the construction. So if you're not feeling confident, or you feel like you don't have the skills for the different construction projects, be at ease that there's a construction supervisor that will be there to help you throughout that process to make sure that we're doing quality work. Also with construction, you might be anxious to know what the projects are. We do whatever is most needed at the moment, and so sometimes projects change last minute, but usually we're not going to have it real set in stone till about 2 weeks out. So look for that email a couple weeks before your trip so you can have an idea of exactly what the project is going to be. Something that everyone's going to need is something to protect them from the sun, so hats, something to cover up their long sleeves or sunscreen, water bottles. I cannot impress that even in the winter. You're going to need to drink plenty of water as you're working, and then as well as having work gloves.
Work gloves are important, and also there's always lots of painting, as we mentioned in the PowerPoint, and so those latex gloves work nicely too. So you probably saw your itinerary, so you can kind of see the flow of the day. But usually we do construction in the morning before it gets too hot. We have lunch there, we have breakfast in the orphanage, and then the afternoon there's always various activities. You may stay in the orphanage and play with the kids and do all sorts of different projects. You know, we talked about that a little bit already with the PowerPoint. You're going to go on activities, go shopping, perhaps go to the beach. So the afternoon activities vary. And then we always get back together after dinner and we do a fireside. And that's where it's a good time to just get together as a group, talk about the day, what went well, what was hard, what neat experiences perhaps you had. It's the time that your trip host and your construction chief will review the next day and what the schedule's going to be. And we also like to just have some fun during this time. So if you play an instrument and you want to bring your guitar and sing or tell stories or whatever, it's just a time just kind of wrap up the day. Fun activities, they, like any kids, that you have, whether they're babies or teenagers, they like to do the same activities. So do hair and nail polish. The boys like to play, soccer and basketball, different sports, puzzles or Play-Doh or whatever you want to bring down. These kids are going to want to do.
Even something as simple as playing tag with them. Or if you have something that your family loves to do, if you guys are really into Minute to Win It games or other activities, you can email each other back and forth and kind of come up with unique things to you to bring down and do with the kids.
And the other thing, your trip host will probably tell you this or go over this when he talks to you, but as we mentioned, we do a lot of service projects in Tijuana because it's a big city and there's lots of opportunities to serve. So they might be telling you, we're going to do baskets with such and such in it. So they might give you some ideas of supplies to bring down or whatever from the United States.
And if you have any questions about having an Eagle Scout project or any additional, if you have people in your community and your family who want to be involved, then please reach out to Lexi and she'll put you in contact with the person that can help you create that special project based on their current needs at the moment.
That's good to point out. So you will be meeting it's actually a Walmart in Chula Vista. It's just a little bit south of San Diego, just north of the Mexican border. You'll either be meeting at the Walmart or the Home Depot, and it tells you that in your itinerary where you'll be meeting. We usually meet at 1 o'clock, so if you have to do any shopping before then, if you're coming from a different state or flying in, make sure that you get your water, anything that you need, bedding or whatever, get it before 1 o'clock so that you can just take off and go there. We talked about maps. You want to talk about the links for the maps?
So also in the information that Lexi sent you, you will see a link to Google Pins for our location. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how to use that. After you've opened it in your email, you can go to your Google Maps. I found that Google Maps work much better than any other map system. And on the top left-hand corner, there are 3 lines. If you click that, the top option is Your Places. And once you click on Your Places, there are 3 options, and the far right one says Maps. And when you click on Maps, if you've clicked on the link correctly in your email, then it will pull up ACHF Baja Mexico trip locations. And that is what you will use to find the different pins. It's very simple to follow these pins when you're in Mexico, and we really encourage that we're not caravanning. You might be in the same area as the cars around you, but we really want you to pay attention to the road and be safe and other drivers on the road instead of following a car. So it's really important that you have Google Maps on your phone and that you have service while you're down in Mexico, at least one person per vehicle, because we don't want people caravanning. It's okay if you guys are in the same area, but if we're caravanning, then we found that people are paying less attention to other drivers on the road. So it's really important that you're paying attention to traffic and other drivers, and just use Google Maps. It makes driving around in Mexico very simple. And another important thing to note that might confuse you because you're going to La Hacienda is that on Google Maps, when you pull it up, it says Casa Hogar de Maria, and that's just because the name is changed on that orphanage, but the pin that is on this link is correct.
One thing you also need to get, it talks about Mexico insurance. So driving your own vehicle into Mexico, you do need Mexican insurance. Now, since you're just going to Tijuana, your local carrier may cover you for just going to Tijuana. But double check with them, and if not, There's a link here for Baja Bound, which is the cheapest place we found to get insurance for Mexico for your vehicle. So just give them a call and get Mexican insurance. Food. You'll be eating a lot of your meals at the orphanage, breakfast and lunch. Dinners, like I said, will go out to some fun restaurants and taco bars and so forth. But all of your food is provided on this trip.
Tuesday night through Friday night.
Right, through Friday night. And if you want to buy snacks or go get something else, you'll have your own money. And you can just use U.S. currency here in Tijuana. You don't need to worry about getting pesos. We talked about the phone. We do need to have, for every group, there needs to be one working cell phone. This just makes it easy for the trip host to send out texts, if plans change, or, oh, we're going here instead, or whatever. Just to have contact with you, we need to have one working cell phone. And remember, when you go across the border, you might be able to see San Diego, but you need to press data roaming for your cell phone to work. That's correct. Very important. Orphanage needs, Samantha kind of mentioned this. If you want to bring something specific to that orphanage, or you're doing an Eagle project, contact our volunteer coordinator, Lexi, and she will be able to help you with what the needs are currently at that orphanage. We have a partial list here of things to provide. You've got a packing list that's more thorough. But just again, work gloves are so important, a hat, sunscreen, a flashlight at night since you will be staying in dorm rooms. If you need to get up at night, then bring a flashlight. Earplugs, if you're a light sleeper and someone might bother you with their snoring, you might want to bring earplugs. So we hope that we were able to give you some little extra information that wasn't included in this packet. And again, we will be setting up, if any of you are interested in meeting your trip host before you go and having a conference call with them, call Lexi, let her know, and she will schedule a conference call where you can all get together.
We hope you have a great trip.
Thank you.